Benavides. I'm a PhD student with the Queensland University of Technology and the School of Design and the Center for a Waste-Free World. My research project is on speculative design and systems thinking for a circular economy in Australia. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which I am presenting, the Kavi Kavi, and acknowledge that this has always been a place of learning and environmental stewardship. I'd also like to acknowledge my supervisory team, Dr. Manuela Benavides, Professor Leonie Barner, and Professor Marcus Foss. And so the research problem I'm addressing with my research is, I don't think it'll come as a surprise for anyone that single-use plastic confronts humans with a variety of global and environmental health issues. It is a modern and complex wicked problem, and its impact has been recognized by the United Nations and by many other international organizations, and it's enshrined in their 12th sustainability goal. However, a transition towards the circular economy for plastics in Australia promises to ensure the efficient use of plastic and decrease of plastic production. However, there's research highlighting over 200 documented definitions of the circular economy just in peer-reviewed articles. So this suggests some complications for its implementation. And moreover, the current approach and discourse around circular economy in Australia is focused largely on recycling and waste management. A participatory speculative design workshop allows us to explore the dynamic interactions of the Australian plastic system and the stakeholders' mental model in an alternate setting not encumbered by the discourse surrounding plastics and circular economy. So the research problem is addressed by the following research question: how can systems thinking and speculative design contribute to the transition of the Australian plastics economy to a circular economy? And this question has been broken down into 4 sub-questions that question the key dynamics at play within the Australian plastic economy, and what are the points of intervention revealed by the system dynamics, and the points of intervention that we should consider for a transition of the Australian plastics economy to a circular economy, and what can speculative design interventions reveal about the plastic systems and the broader systems in which it is embedded, and how can future scenarios inform our discussion surrounding sustainability. Speculative design is an action research method, and it serves to upend our sense of reality and the world and the world of possibilities and limitations of our current reality. So the aim is not to define an answer to a problem, but to try to question the possibilities. So it allows new forms of experiences, awareness, and dialogues to emerge, new perspectives on wicked problems, and it opens up new debate and encourages imagination to flow freely. System thinking is a way of thinking that rejects reductionism and emphasizes the interconnectedness and dynamic relationship between parts of a whole. However, the scientific revolution and its reductionist tradition has effects on our social and political spheres, and therefore systems thinking may not be intuitive. So visualizing the system, its elements and interactions are key first steps to thinking in systems. These steps are also crucial before disturbing the system in order to target maximum leverage points and avoid unintended consequences. These interactions are patterns from the structure of the system, and the structure of the system is what produces the system behavior. So if we target the structure, we can target the source of the problem. And systems thinking is inherently holistic and therefore transdisciplinary. The circular economy, as I said before, there's many definitions in academic as well as in industry writing. The most used one is the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which states it's a system solution framework that tackles global challenges based on 3 principles driven by design: to eliminate waste and pollution, circulate plastics and materials, and regenerate nature. However, it is important to emphasize that systems perspective is central to the discussion of a circular economy, and that reducing it to waste management and recycling would be a grave misapprehension, as Ken Webster from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation has stated. So for my research, I run a participatory design workshop called Polyterra. The aim of the workshop was to answer the research question, and the strategy used was an immersive strategy into fictional reality. So participants were asked to collaboratively construct a futuristic world based on a video prompt. The workshop guided the participants through world building, system thinking, and modeling activities. Participants were selected using purposive sampling from a range of disciplines based on their experience in and knowledge of plastics, circular economy, sustainable living, and or design. So I haven't been able to get time traveling pills for today, so you'll just have to pretend to time travel with me. So I wanted to show you the video prompt that I used in the workshop that set the scene.
Sorry, we cannot hear anything. Is there the sound is shared?
There should be sound, but it's only music.
Oh, okay, then that's fine.
Yeah. During the workshop, we went through 3 different types of activities. So world building activity, systems thinking, and systems visualization or modeling. First, participants were provided with this Polyterra world board in an A2 size and were asked to fill in the different sections answering the questions. Then they were introduced to the iceberg model, which is an activity to introduce systems thinking and to identify patterns, underlying structures, and mental models underlying the events we see every day. And then they were asked to identify the variables affecting the processes and outcomes of the event they chose. So once they had those variables, they were led through connection circles exercise in which you identify relationships between the variables. The data analysis method has been 2 steps. One is a reflective thematic analysis, which has been an iterative deductive process using computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software called Dovetail. And then from the themes and the codes emerging from the thematic analysis, I have carried out some conceptual system dynamics modeling. So I'm still in the process of finalizing results, but some of the big picture insights are that plastic actually turned out not to be the focal point of discussions at all. So when people were faced with this crisis scenario, the conversations very quickly turned into towards basic needs like food security, clean water, and shelter. Also, became very evident that our plastic use is inextricably tied to our food systems, our work culture, social status, and access to clean water. Finally, participants' imaginations of the future were heavily informed by their past experience of crisis or their family, sci-fi movies, and books. So this is the affinity diagram that came out of all the discussions about plastics within the workshop, which was later refined into the emerging themes like food systems, recycling, power dynamics, and reuse and return models. From these affinity diagrams, I have been able to identify some system dynamics, interactions. So we can see here reinforcing and balancing loops, and also system archetypes. Some results about world building and future world building. So each table created a unique world, which was guided by their discussions, which in turn reflected their knowledge, values, hopes, and fears. Every world seemed to represent a kind of basic duality between the need for community and collaboration, and a tendency to individualism, and to look after one and one's closest circle in a crisis scenario. So the worlds have been brought to life using an AI image generator called Midjourney, and the prompts to generate those images have been composed using keywords and themes from participants' discussions. So this is this is the first world. Is there was a lot of discussions about having these centralized food systems where you get your food from like a vending machine, and everything's packed in plastic and kind of like ready to eat. So everyone gets their food there. So homes are no longer designed to have a kitchen or a living room, and work is the most important thing. So apartments are all designed around an office. The second world was more oriented to go back to basics, and a big concern about nutritional needs and avoiding toxic contaminants, and a big concern to have clean water. The third world that emerged from the workshop was this kind of silo, hierarchical, centralized living, very authoritarian, with very marked like social castes, where people at the bottom were scavenging plastic and waste for resources, and there was a very, very rich top class. And these discussions also led to home 3D printer for food. And the last world, there was a lot of discussions about kind of the difference between like two options, either like very dense living in cities, a lot of informal markets, but finding cooperation in that unity of living very densely, or kind of self-subsistence, very isolated living, where you fortress yourself to protect your resources. Thank you for coming, and sorry about the technical difficulties. If you'd like to connect, please email me. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Manuela. That's such important and interesting research. It's great to see the things that are being done, to hear about them all today.
Thank you.
I do have one question here, and it relates back to the circular economy, which I think you touched on right at the start, and what you perceive as the barriers, of which there are probably many. Perhaps what is the biggest barrier to the circular economy for plastics, whether it be technology, collaboration, is it sorting, is it consumer-led? Where can that be enhanced, I guess?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There's many, many layers of challenges. I think, first of all, and that's what I try to emphasize at the start, is agreeing on a definition of what are we actually talking about when we talk about circular economy, because the conversation, like at least the conversation in industry is very controlled by talking about recycling at the moment. And I think the emphasis is that it's not just recycling, because it's not just about targeting the end of life of a product. So I think that implementing design to the upstream of the plastic value chain and actually designing plastic out of system, or designing products as services, actually targeting the production side more than the end of life side of the value chain is very important.
So we're looking then really at a design problem rather than a recycling problem.
Yes. Well, I'm from the School of Design, so
yeah.
I would say.
My other question, I can see we're almost coming up to our next speaker, which is great, but I will ask one more question. If you have collaborated with other professionals or artists throughout in the development of Polyterra throughout your research?
My supervisor, Manuela, we talked a lot about storytelling and how kind of to replicate the hero's journey. But as far as artists, no, but I have, in my professional career, I guess environmental management is an inherently transdisciplinary field. And I think like anything involving the management of resources requires a transdisciplinary effort.
Yes, it's vital, isn't it?
Yes.
That's lovely. We really appreciate your time, Manuela. Thank you. And hopefully you'll be able to stay around and watch a few of the next ones as well. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you.